What would you do if your son's perfect girlfriend, the one he called the one, introduced herself to you with the crudest joke imaginable? In today's story, a mother's snap judgment almost ruined a relationship, but the resolution is a masterclass in second chances. My husband, Mark, and I were about to meet my son Liam's girlfriend for the very first time. He'd been crazy about her, dating her for a whole year before he felt ready to make the official introduction. From what Liam had told us, she sounded perfect. Chloe had just gotten her degree, was loving her new job, and was very family-oriented. Honestly, after seeing him single for a couple of years, I was just glad he was so happy with someone. Mark and I agreed that we'd never seen him this into a person before, which makes what I did feel so much worse. He had made it clear that he wouldn't bring anyone home unless he was sure he wanted a future with her. We'd been asking to meet her for months, but he always said he wanted to be ready. The anticipation was palpable. Last weekend, he finally brought her over for dinner. He'd been gushing about her constantly, telling us how perfect she was, that she was the one. In his exact words, as a parent, you build a picture in your head, based on everything he'd said. She checked every box of what we knew he looked for in a partner. I admit I was anxious. He'd only ever shown us photos she'd sent him, as he hates taking pictures himself. My husband, Mark, joked that I was worried about getting second-hand catfished, and as silly as it sounds, I think he was right. It just shows how much I'd built this up in my mind. Then, the doorbell rang. We opened the door, and there she was. She looked exactly like her pictures, which was a great start. My son, Liam, was standing beside her, grinning from ear to ear, another great start. We invited them in. I gave her a warm hug, and my husband gave her a firm handshake. And then, she opened her mouth. "I'm the one your son puts his penis in." Chloe delivered the line, completely unaware that this single, ill-fated joke was about to detonate the entire evening. The air went still. To be frank, I was appalled. My mind just short-circuited. I had expected my husband to laugh. Both he and my son are relentless jokesters, and as annoying as it can be, I usually love it. But this was just too much. Maybe I'm reserved, but of all the things she could have possibly said to us, her boyfriend's parents whom she'd never met, she chose that. The visual it immediately put in my head was so disturbing that it morphed directly into anger. One look at my face and Mark knew exactly how much I disapproved. Liam was amused for a split second, but when his eyes darted to me, his smile vanished. I felt like he'd sold me a false bill of goods, the full package of everything he'd ever wanted, and this crude joke shattered that image. This revealed my greatest fear at that moment, that I had misjudged my son's happiness entirely, and my intense disappointment manifested as pure anger, sealing the fate of their first meeting. "Get out," I said. The words left my mouth before I could stop them. I wanted to say more, to explain how gross and uncomfortable her comment made me feel, but fortunately, I left it at that. Liam immediately started protesting, insisting that I give her another chance, that it was just a joke, but I was too fed up, too uncomfortable. Even my husband, who has enjoyed his fair share of raunchy jokes over the years, wasn't defending her. He just stood there, his face grim. They left, and the moment the door clicked shut, a wave of guilt washed over me. This was something my son had really looked forward to. Driving over an hour from his home in the next state, and I had destroyed it over a single dumb joke. I tried calling him to apologize, but he didn't pick up. He wouldn't answer my texts. Mark said that he thought Chloe was the one who should be apologizing to me. I didn't want him taking the fall for my reaction, though. I was the one who kicked her out. As I replayed the scene in my head, I kept wrestling with my own feelings. One commenter online would later put words to my conflict perfectly, saying, "I am the biggest jokester around. I love inappropriate jokes. I love making people cringe. But there's a time and place and reading the room. I would never do that as my first impression with my partner's parents." Did you react well? No. Do I blame you? Nope. That was it exactly. My feelings were valid, but my reaction was terrible. Then, a thought began to form, sparked by another commenter's insightful question. What are the chances it was your son's idea all along and she just, regretfully, went along with it? Because if that's the case, you probably can't get a hold of him because he's doing damage control with his girlfriend who's now mortified. It made a strange kind of sense. Liam had been grinning when they arrived. He and his father shared that same jokester personality. Was it possible he had set her up for this spectacular failure? I sent him one last text, telling him I had done my part to make amends and was just waiting for him to call me. Then, I waited. Finally, a few days later, my phone rang. It was Liam. He told me Chloe had agreed to try again. I was so relieved. We all agreed to meet at a neutral location, a restaurant that Liam and Chloe chose. When we arrived, the atmosphere was tense. But the very first thing Chloe did was walk up to me and apologize for what she said. I immediately apologized for my extreme reaction, and then we hugged. It was a nice, genuine moment of relief for everyone. She then explained everything. Liam had convinced her that a joke like that would land well with us. He had described Mark and himself as major jokesters and thought we'd find it hilarious. According to Liam, she had been reluctant to open with any kind of joke at all, but they came up with that specific one together in the car on the way over. The online comment had been right on the money. With the air cleared, the rest of the dinner was wonderful. She's a really sweet girl, and actually very mature. We talked for hours, and I could finally see everything Liam saw in her. I saw why he was so crazy about her. Mark and I both ended up really liking her, and we told our son to bring her along whenever he visits. We're already looking forward to seeing them again. I'm so glad we could get a second chance to start over, and on the right foot this time. Ultimately, this story shows us that first impressions aren't always accurate and that a moment of poor judgment doesn't have to define a relationship. True connection comes from having the grace to apologize and the wisdom to grant a second chance. What do you think? Could you have forgiven a joke like that? Or was the initial reaction completely justified? Let us know in the comments.